Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We are going live today with Robin Gutman, and we're going to be talking about some of her best advice, her worst advice, things that she practices, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you for joining, Shira. We're just going to wait for Robin to join. Thank you for joining, Babby Faye. How's everyone doing this morning? We could just chat till Robin comes on. Maybe she's actually waiting for me to invite her. One second. Robin. Let's try that. Robin, okay.
Hi. This happened to me last time
Hello.
too. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. We have to turn it over. Awesome.
Yes.
Do you hear me okay? Do you see me okay?
Hi. Good morning.
Awesome.
Good.
Hi, good morning. How are you? So good to see you.
Yes.
I'm happy we made this happen. Okay. So let's get right to it because I know we both have a time-limited time together. So tell me, I guess I always ask the worst advice first.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe I have a bias to the negative. We'll get to that another time. But tell me, the worst piece of advice you ever got or heard, and maybe that's something that you can share with people. That
And I wonder if anybody else has heard this too or felt this way. So I'm curious to hear feedback as well. So the worst advice I would say that I could remember at least is the idea of don't trust anyone, right? Hearing somebody say you can't trust anyone, don't trust anyone. And I feel like that's not really good advice because please do, please trust someone, please trust people. Life's a lot darker when you can't trust anyone, so having that attitude of you can't trust anyone is just so disconnecting, and people need connection. And obviously there's with everything else, there's a balance. You can't be too trustworthy. You have to protect yourself. Yes, I get that, but not to the extent where don't trust anyone or you can't trust anyone. That's heavy.
Exactly. That's extreme. And it's on almost this armor of self-sufficiency, right? It's I can't trust anyone, so I need to be self-sufficient. That's it's very isolating. It's also putting tremendous pressure on the person themselves to be self-sufficient. We're not self-sufficient. We need people, and we need, exactly. I love that. That's perfect, on point. And I think it's what everyone needs to hear at some point in their life. And then what would your best advice be?
My best advice, I was thinking about that, and this quote that my grandmother often says came to my mind, and she says, you have two ears, right? You can take things in with one ear and take things out with the other. So sometimes before she'll give me other advice, she'll say that, but I think that is the advice in itself, right? You have two ears, one to take things in, and you can, one to take things out, which essentially means you're the gatekeeper of yourself. You get to choose what you take in and what you don't. People are going to say things to you. People are going to make comments, whether it's considered advice or just random comments. You kind of get to filter out, do I want to hear this from this person? You get to choose that. And I think that's really important, whether it's on Instagram, posts that you read and you feel I'm not sure if that's right. Or you might get panicked, is that describing me? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. You get to choose, you get to filter it out. You get to be the gatekeeper of your life, whether it's Instagram or real life, whatever it is. So
I love that. It reminds me of a quote that I also love. Listen to what other people say, but don't swallow it whole. And I love that because it's also similar to your first point, which is that balance of needing people and also not being completely dependent on them, but that self-sufficiency piece. But this is more to the point of trust yourself to know what you need to integrate. If the shoe fits, wear it. That's another common phrase that people throw around. But I think that yes, I like the idea of I never heard of it. I always hear you have two ears and one mouth, because you're supposed to do more listening and less talking. That's what I thought, where I thought you were going. But I like the spin on it. You have one ear to take things in and one ear to take things out. I never heard that. I like the grandma. Okay.
You're the only one, and it goes back to this idea of self, and that's why I'm always into promoting self. You have to know yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the only one who knows what you're experiencing and all the contributing factors that led you to make a certain decision or that led you to make a certain choice, whatever it is. You know why you did it. And that doesn't mean we could never be wrong. Sometimes our intuition does get a little fuzzy. Sometimes we don't have that good enough connection with the self, and we don't have the clarity that hopefully everybody can get to. But sometimes it is hard to access that clarity.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I guess if you're able to access the clarity and you feel really confident and sure that like you know why you made this choice, or you know why this piece of advice resonates with you or it doesn't, like trust yourself.
Exactly. And if you don't have the clarity, like giving yourself the space to like get to that clarity, to like not feel like everything that you heard has to be a perfect fit for you, you know, but know that like you'll get to that place where you know how to decipher it and like take out what doesn't belong. I love that. Perfect. What would you say would be the hardest lesson that you learned?
So I think
it doesn't have to be the hardest,
think it's
but one of the hardest.
Interesting because it kind of connects to this idea. The hardest lesson is, I would say, just thinking back, whenever I wasn't like true to myself and felt pressured to do things a certain way, or be things a certain, you know, be a certain way, or invite certain guests at a certain time when it just didn't really work, like not being true. Again, it connects to that idea of like, what's gonna work for me right now. And I think when you try to like override your own system and like bypass what's important to you, that's, to me, that would be probably one of the hardest lessons, that like it doesn't work, and there's so much negative fallout from that, even for yourself, or it could impact your relationship with other people. And so I would say, yeah, the hardest lesson is not being true to the self, and not really doing what's in your own best interest, not in a selfish way, because it's not about being selfish, but more about being in tune with the self.
Right. So like almost like hearing, like knowing, are you saying like, let's say you would know something's not like the best thing, but you would just do it anyway because it was like expectation, or just like you felt you had to get yourself used to such a thing, and then it's just like when you actually make that decision, which is against your intuition, it feels like swimming upstream. It feels like it's so difficult. It's like, you know, an uphill battle, because it's just not in line with like your whole system's not on board.
Just as a small example, and it's funny because like Perm's coming up now, but I remember one year, many years ago, probably going back like 15 years, I remember making the decision to make a Health+Wellness that took so much effort and energy, and I wanted to, but also did it align perfectly with what I was able to do in my life at that point with smaller children. Like just it was so much, and so sometimes it's actually hard to pull that apart. Like sometimes you actually do really want to do something, but just like life circumstances don't really allow for it, and I think that's a huge struggle. But having, you know, again, it's having the clarity to figure out like what can I do? I know what I want to do. I know what might be hard. So like navigating through that, but just sometimes it's day-to-day choices of that, like balance. I know this is what I want. Like, and ideally, yes, if life circumstances allowed for it, I could go to that place, or, you know, bake that cake, or whatever it is. But check yourself, you know? Exactly.
Totally. And sometimes you have to like err in a sense, because that teaches you that like sometimes you need that lesson. Like you need to know that like, oh, I tried, I really wanted to, and I listened to that part of myself. I really wanted to make that like gorgeous Health+Wellness, and now I learned that like that is not part of my lifestyle for the next few years. Like this year it wasn't, probably next year it won't either be. And like that's how you kind of learn what you need. So it's almost like I love that you chose this answer, because it's like it's a hard lesson that you have to learn. And there's no way to really know until you start learning that lesson of like trying. Like maybe that type of thing would work for me, and it's just my, you know, insecurity that's not letting me do it, or my resistance because it's hard work or something like that. But once you try it and you're like, this was really like not a good fit for me, then you're able to say with confidence, like, okay, next time I have to listen to that other voice that was like, maybe it's not the best time for this, you know?
Watching this is feeling like pressure or tension in like a certain area of their life, like that might be a space where you want to go and check, like, so then is it fitting into right now, to what, you know, what I'm able to do right now? And like you said, the confidence that you get at a certain point, and this is why it's a hard lesson, because it's actually something that like I experienced that of like learning that balance. And so now I'm able to say, like, again, using that word confidence, like now I'm able to have a lot more confidence in making the right choices for myself, because of having those experiences. I don't think you can have it unless you go through that lesson.
Exactly, which is why I love that you chose that as like a hard lesson, because usually you'd be like, I learned a lesson and I'm never going to do that again. But this is the type of lesson that like, no, we need to encourage ourselves to learn these lessons. Like you want to step out of your comfort zone, and sometimes you're not sure, like, is it the fear voice, is it the insecurity voice, or is it the really like, this is not a good fit for me voice? But you can't really know that always until you try, and then you're able to like decipher, because you can connect that voice the next time around to like something similar, and it's like, oh, it's that voice again, probably not the best thing, you know. That's like the people pleasing fear or whatever. So yeah, I love that. And then our last question for today would be like the number one habit or something like a routine or practice that you implement on a daily basis or frequently that you encourage other people to, that's made like the biggest impact or one of the biggest impacts in your life.
I also think it's very individual. So like for myself, like something that came to mind, I was like, wait, how do I make this like general so like everyone can kind of implement it? And basically I would generalize it to say that do something that's important to you every day. Do something that's important to you, whether that's, you know, meditation or prayer or exercise or connecting with somebody, whatever it is. If there's something that's important to you, take 1 minute of your day to do it. Like, don't, you know, sometimes people think, oh, this is really important to me. I want to work out. It's an hour or nothing. Or I want to visit an elderly person. It's an hour or nothing. Like, it doesn't have to be black and white. Just if there's something that's important to you, make space for it every day. A little bit of space.
I love that. I love that. And would you say like for yourself, this is something that's the same thing every day, or no, it could just be anything? And like, are you like the night before you're deciding what that is, or is it kind of like part of your routine?
Yeah,
This is something that's important
there's a
for me
couple
every
things
day.
that are important to me, but one thing that I know is really important to me is like movement. And it doesn't have to be like intense movement. It doesn't have to be like a super, you know, cardio powered workout. It could be like doing some, depending on the day. And that's what I'm saying. It depends on the day, what you have space for that day. It could be 10 minutes of yoga. It could be a walk around the block, or it could be an hour run, you know, depending on the day. But I know that I need a little bit of space for that, even if it's 10 minutes or 5 minutes. But for me, that's like super important. I respond really well to that.
Yeah.
So.
I love that. Like that you put that down. Yeah, no, I think that's like a perfect example, because it's like that type of thing that could be like, you know, it's a perfect example of how you could meter it out. Like it could be something that takes an hour, or it could be something that takes 5 minutes. And like people so underestimate like 5 minutes of movement, like, and 5 minutes of anything. Like even if let's say for you, like connecting with somebody is really important, like 5 minutes of connection can also be something. It could be a voice note to somebody. It could be a text message, which takes less than 5 minutes. So like I really love that. Yes. And I totally like, I recommend movement. Like I really think movement is medicine. And I think that that's like definitely something that gets underestimated a lot, because it's also like so connected to like all the body image issues that go on in our society. So like if we could separate that and be like, this is just something so good for you, you know, just do it, even if it's 3 minutes every day.
It's really good.
I really like that.
Person, right? If somebody's feeling kind of lonely, if it's like a stay-at-home mom and she's just with the kids all day, or somebody who's at the office all day and doesn't get to, you know, but like you said, just a voice note, like just, it doesn't have to be, yeah, you might wish that you can go out for lunch with your friends, but so then just voice note them. It's not the same thing. It doesn't mean you can't ever go out with them or that you still don't want to, but the element of connection is still going to be there. As long as you get an element of what's important to you every day, I think it's such a game changer.
Totally. I love that. I really like that. I love that you made it general and it's like so applicable in a specific way. Amazing. Anything else you want to say wrapping up? Like we're so good with time. You're so like pointed. We're like hitting everything. We're like every milestone's hit.
I think just the idea that I feel like everything I said, and this wasn't like done on purpose, but like as I was thinking about like, you know, best advice and worst advice and all these things, I'm like, wow, like a lot of it really, really has to do with like knowing yourself. Even doing something for yourself every day. Do you know what you like to do for yourself? Do you know what makes you happy? Is it right? Like what is it? So a lot of it comes back to the idea of how comfortable you are with your needs and with your wants and with allowing space for them.
And how much do you even know? Like how much do you even know of yourself, right? Like I think like the journey into yourself, like just understanding yourself, like knowing like this is important to me versus like back to what one of the things you said, this is an external, like I think I should be moving, but like maybe movement's totally not for you. Maybe you're just like the person that does not like, that doesn't do it for you at all on any level. But then knowing that you need to read for 20 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day, like for some people that's what it is. It's going into their inner world. And like I love that. Yes, it's true. The theme is like know thyself.
This is very hard to do. If anybody experienced any kind of like trauma or any kind of, you know, a certain upbringing where like there wasn't space for someone's voice to be heard, like people are very often are in like automatic mode, like we're just giving, right? Whether it's to society, our children, our boss, whatever it is, like we're giving and we're doing.
Totally
disconnected. They're a little connected, and I also want to make a distinction between what I call self-care and emotional self-care, which I don't think those are the same thing. Like self-care might be, you know, getting a manicure or going for a walk, but the emotional self-care is that space where you're like tuning into your actual emotions, which is really hard. And a lot of people are super avoidant of that. So
you should do some talks on that. We should do a live on that. I feel like that's like a very good, like, I know what you're talking about, and I feel like maybe some other people have an idea, but I would love to delve deeper into that. And I think that's like a really smart distinction type of like, self-care is just such a cliche word. It's just so thrown around, and it gets so confused because, like you said, like brushing your teeth is self-care, and like nobody thinks it is, you know, but it is. And then it's just like, but connecting with a friend is also self-care, and journaling and meditating is also. So like, how do we just like distinguish and get things done like in the self-care realm, and not just like focus only on the external self-care, which is like could be feeling really empty emotionally.
Somebody might be like, I don't know, like I went for a massage and I went for a walk with my friend and I went out for lunch, like I did so much for myself, why am I still feeling like out of sync with my system? You know, like why am I still not feeling it? And that would be my answer. Like,
correct.
The emotional part is not there. You're doing all the surface level things that, like, you know, pop psychology would say this is self-care, which it is, but it's not enough. So yeah, we can expand on that some other time.
Exactly. Accessories. Yeah, definitely. We should definitely do that. Thanks so much, Robin. This has been real. I was looking forward to it, and I'm like, for good reason. It was awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day. We'll be in touch. Take care. Likewise.